Today is March 9th, and our topic is when a woman uses her voice. Welcome to Cup of Cocoa and Chat. Wherever you are listening from and whatever time of day it is for you, I'm so glad you're here. Yesterday we celebrated International Women's Day, recognizing the strength, resilience, and contributions of women across the world. And as we move through March, we're also honoring Women's History Month, a time when we intentionally reflect on the women whose courage, leadership, and voices helped shape the world we live in today. All month long, I've been sharing stories of women across my platforms: YouTube, Facebook, IG, and TikTok, highlighting inventors, leaders, authors, and trailblazers. And as I've been posting these stories, one truth kept standing out to me. Throughout history, women who spoke up were often misunderstood before they were respected. Today, we're going to talk about the journey. What happens when a woman chooses to use her voice? So let's get into the power of a woman's voice. The power of a woman's voice. There's something powerful about a woman who understands her voice matters. Not just a loud voice, not just a public voice, but a voice rooted in truth, purpose, and conviction. Because when women speaks with purpose, she's not just speaking for herself. Often, she is speaking for people who have not been heard yet. Many of the women we celebrate today weren't always celebrated while they were speaking. Examples: Rosa Parks quietly refusing to give up her seat. Shirley Chisholm becoming the first Black woman elected to Congress. Maya Angelou using words to speak truth and dignity. None of these women were trying to be famous. They were trying to be faithful to what they believed. Okay? Now let's look into when women in leadership are labeled. When women in leadership are labeled, and that often happens personally, publicly, professionally, there is something we don't talk about enough. When women lead, they often are labeled before they're understood. So let's get into explaining the labels women receive. One of the things that many women in leadership experience, whether it's in the workplace, politics, ministry, business, or even within their own families, is being labeled. Not because they are wrong, not because they are unqualified, but because they choose to speak. because they choose to simply speak. You may have noticed something interesting. The moment a woman begins to stand firmly in her convictions, certain words start to follow her. So let's talk about some of those labels. We hear it all the time. She's too emotional. She's too emotional. Women are often told they are too emotional, but emotion is not weakness. Emotion is awareness. Emotion is compassion. Emotion is the ability to understand how decisions affect people. Many of the greatest leaders in history led with empathy. They understood that leadership is not just about power, it's about people. Okay? So that's too emotional. How many times have you heard she's too strong? She's too strong. Okay? Then there's the label of being too strong. Sometimes when a woman refuses to shrink herself to make others comfortable, she is described as intimidating or difficult. But strength in a woman should not be something people fear. It should be something people respect. Strength is what allows women to carry families, careers, responsibility, and still show up for others. Okay? Another label is aggressive. Aggressive. How many times have you heard she's too aggressive? But many times what people call aggression is simply a woman being direct, clear, and confident. She knows what she believes. She knows what she wants to accomplish. And she's not afraid to say it. Confidence in men is often celebrated. Not often. It's celebrated. Confidence in men is celebrated all the time. Confidence in women is sometimes questioned. Confidence in women is questioned quite often. Okay? Then there's outspoken. How many times have you heard she's outspoken? Especially in politics. This one is interesting because society often encourages women to speak, but only if they say things that make everyone comfortable. Comfortable. But the moment a woman speaks truth that challenges something, suddenly she's labeled outspoken. But sometimes progress only happens when someone is willing to say what others are afraid to say. And finally, there's ambitious. Now that's another label. Ambitious. A woman who dreams big, sets goals, and pursues leadership and is sometimes told she wants too much or that she should slow down. Slow down? Really? But ambition can also be purpose in motion. It's the desire to build something meaningful, to create opportunities, and to leave something better behind. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the very traits women are criticized for are the same traits that allow them to lead, to innovate, and to move society forward. This is why throughout history, women who speak up were often misunderstood before they were respected. But guess what? Respect often arrives later, after she's proven herself. And then sometimes respect is never granted. Right? And the times that it is, it's after courage has already done its work. But if a man shows the same traits, we often call it leadership. He isn't misunderstood. He's praised and applauded because he has leadership. He has shown leadership. There have been many women in leadership, politics, business, education, faith communities who have faced this reality. Here are some examples: Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama, Jasmine Crockett, just to name a few. These women didn't just carry their responsibilities, they carried expectations, criticism, and scrutiny at levels many people never see. Sometimes when a woman speaks, people don't debate her ideas, they question her tone. Think about that. Only her tone is questioned when she speaks. Okay? So, we have to learn to ground ourselves. We have to learn to ground ourselves. So let's talk about why staying grounded matters. Because if your voice depends on people's approval, you may stop speaking the moment criticism appears. And a lot of times that's what they want. They want us to stop speaking. A woman who knows her purpose doesn't speak to please everyone. I'm going to repeat that. A woman who knows her purpose does not speak to please anyone. Okay? She speaks because something inside her says, this needs to be said. This needs to be said. Okay? Staying grounded when you use your voice. Let's talk about staying grounded when you use your voice. When a woman chooses to use her voice, especially in spaces where she may not always be welcomed or fully understood, she needs something deeper than approval to sustain her. She needs grounding. Because criticism will come, misunderstanding will come, labels may come. But when a woman is grounded in who she is and why she speaks, those things don't shake her the way they might have before. Okay? There are a few qualities that help women stay grounded. Number one, integrity. Integrity. Integrity is one of the most powerful foundations a leader can have. Integrity means your words, your actions, and your values are aligned, even when nobody is watching. A woman with integrity doesn't speak just to impress people. She speaks because she believes in truth, fairness, and doing what is right. And sometimes integrity means means saying something that may not be popular in the moment, but it is necessary. Integrity may not always bring applause immediately, but it builds trust over time. Number two, faith. 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 It helps you stay grounded when you use your voice. For many women, including myself, faith plays a role in how we navigate leadership and purpose. Faith reminds us that our voice has meaning beyond the opinions of the matter. I'm sorry, I can't read my writing. Opinions of the moment. I'll repeat that. Faith reminds us that our voice has meaning beyond the opinions of the moment. It reminds us that we are guided, supported, and called to walk in purpose. Faith can steady you when criticism is loud. It can remind you that the assignment on your life is bigger than the discomfort you may face while carrying it. Okay? Number three, self-awareness. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is another powerful anchor. A self-aware woman understands her strengths her values, and even her areas for growth, because there's always room for growth. That awareness allows her to lead with humility instead of ego. She doesn't feel the need to dominate every room or prove herself constantly because she knows who she is. And when you know who you are, other people's opinions don't define you. Okay? Number 4, and the last quality that helps women stay grounded is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. A lot of folk lack emotional intelligence. We let things rent space in our heads, and we let people get the best of us. And we let them bring us down to their level. Remember Michelle Obama. When they go low, you go high. Okay? So emotional intelligence is the ability to understand not only your own emotions, but the emotions of others as well. This is one of the most underrated leadership strengths. A woman with emotional intelligence knows when to listen, when to speak, and when to pause. She understands that leadership is not just about authority, it's about connection. People may forget the exact words you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. Okay? And that brings me to something important. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to be the most impactful voice. Sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones that speak with clarity, with purpose, and with wisdom. And throughout history, the women whose voices changed the world were not always the ones trying to command attention. Many were simply women who refused to stay silent when something needed to be said, who refused to say to let me try this again. Many were simply women who refused to stay silent when something needed to be said. So you may not be running a company, you may not be running for office, but your voice still matters. Okay? Here are some examples of when using your voice shows up in everyday life. Sometimes when we talk about leadership, people imagine positions, titles, offices, boardrooms, or public stages. But the truth is, many of the most important moments when a woman uses her voice don't happen in front of an audience. They happen in everyday life. Speaking up in your family, for example, sometimes using your voice begins at home. It might mean speaking up when something isn't right. It might mean protecting the peace of your household. It might mean addressing an issue that everyone else has been avoiding. Families can be complicated, emotions run deep, and sometimes people expect women to keep the peace by staying quiet. But sometimes peace doesn't come from silence, it comes from honesty. And using your voice in love, clarity, and respect can help bring healing and understanding where there once was tension. Okay? Another time that your voice matters is advocating for yourself at work or just advocating for yourself, period. Another place where another place where women often have to use their voice is in the workplace. Okay? That might look like asking for fair treatment. Speaking up when an idea is overlooked. How many times have you had an idea and you talked about your idea, and because you weren't the loudest in the room or you weren't outspoken enough, someone else presented your idea and took the credit? Maybe it was a supervisor, maybe it was a coworker, or maybe it was someone you thought was your friend. Okay? Or even advocating for the value of the work you bring to the table. Sometimes that's overlooked. For many women, especially women who have been taught to be humble and not draw attention to themselves, this can be very, very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. But advocating for yourself is not arrogance. It's recognizing your worth, making sure your contributions are acknowledged. We have to advocate for ourselves when we go to the doctors, right? Because our health is important and we need to learn to ask questions so that we can understand. Okay? Setting boundaries. My God, setting boundaries. We don't speak up when boundaries need to be set, right? Using your voice can also mean setting boundaries. And boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are, they are about protecting your peace, your energy, and your well-being. A woman who sets healthy boundaries is saying, I respect myself enough to know what I can carry and what I cannot. And sometimes the strongest sentence a person can say is simply, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. It may feel uncomfortable. I don't know why I have the hardest time saying uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but boundaries create healthier relationships and healthier lives. And lastly, encouraging someone else. Encouraging someone else. Using your voice is not always about correction or confrontation. Sometimes the most powerful use of your voice is encouragement. It might be telling someone, I believe in you, you can do this, and don't give up. You never know when someone may be standing on the edge of quitting, needing just one voice to remind them that they matter. See, your voice could be the one that helps someone keep going. Okay? And that's why leadership is not always about position. Leadership is not always about titles or recognition. Sometimes leadership is simply the courage to tell truth, to stand in integrity, and to use your voice in moments that matter. So I want to ask you something today. Who is a woman whose voice has inspired you? Maybe it's someone famous. Maybe it's your mother. Maybe it's a teacher, a friend, or a woman who stood up or stood in the paint for you when you couldn't stand up for yourself, or when you couldn't stand in the paint for yourself. For me, it's my mother. That's why I honored her with a memoir of her life, to show how I grew up and how her strong presence meant everything to me. And she was not afraid of using her voice. So throughout history, women who spoke up were often misunderstood before they were respected. I said that earlier. Throughout history, women who spoke up were often misunderstood before they were respected. But that didn't stop them. And because they kept speaking, the world changed. Your voice doesn't have to reach millions to matter. If it reaches the right person at the right moment, it can change everything. It can change everything. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me here on Cup of Cocoa and Chat. Okay? Until next time, I charge you to take care of yourself, stay grounded in your purpose, and never underestimate the power of your voice. I want to bid you peace, blessings. I love you guys, and I definitely mean it.